Here are some pants I have not worn for about 20 years because they were too small and they never fit right. So let's try to fix that. I'm going to add some stripes on the side to try to make them bigger. I found some fabric I did not know I had for a long, long time. So let's put it to use. I'm cutting it into strips that will be the strips for each side of the pair of pants. As you know, I try to do everything in my clothing to be symmetrical or at least decorative. I'm using two different strips for each side to provide variety. Here you see me cutting them using a rotary cutter, which makes things a lot easier than just scissors. By using fabric that I have forgotten I had, I learned to make do with what the design looks like. I need to relax and just let it take place without trying to force it to conform to anything. As you've seen me on the street and elsewhere, I just simply do not conform. As you have noticed, the pants were all white. So let's try this. Just by luck, the fabric I'm using is only black and white and gray, with very little color at all, but it's completely different pattern than the base fabric I was using. Now you're seeing me use a machine called a serger. A serger does the overlock stitches along the edge of each piece of fabric so they will not fray. I plan to use my washing machine to wash my fabrics, and therefore I need to make sure that all the seams are overlocked so the agitation in the washing machine would not cause the garment to fall apart. This happens to be a commercial or industrial serger. It goes a lot faster than the serger that normal people would buy for their homes. I do a lot of serging on this, and I've had this now for 8 years. This still has the same needle as the one I bought it with, so it's held up very, very well. I did purchase a domestic or consumer serger before I purchased this industrial serger, and yes, I've had needles breaking in the machine, jamming a lot. As you can see, I also have an industrial sewing machine. For each leg, I'm using two different styles of strips to provide variety. What I'm doing here is sewing those strips together to form one contiguous strip for each leg. I first stitch the fabric together, then I fold it over and do the top stitch. This is like a double seam. You'll see them everywhere. The machine is quite fast, and it's also automatic. When you get to the end of a seam, you press the pedal backwards and it automatically cuts the thread and sews back and forth a couple of times to secure the seam. This is a feature for a commercial tailoring machine, which is what this is. This saves me from a lot of the grunt work and allows me more freedom for creativity. Just like the serger, the needle in this machine is the same needle that was in the machine when I purchased this machine. Was it now 8 years ago? On my domestic machine I had before this one, it was a Bernina machine, and I've had to replace the needle probably once every 5 or 6 garments. This has outperformed them by far. My next step is to cut the pants open on each side where I will stitch in these strips. Therefore, the strips will add an additional inch of width for the pants, both top and actually on both sides. This is a bit tricky since I cannot use the roller cutter. I have to cut these with scissors. And I also have to cut these so they're not cutting close to any existing seam in the pair of pants. If you do that, then you will have trouble sewing in the strip that will bridge these cuts on each side. I did that once, and the stitch tore when I wore the pants on my bicycle. Fortunately, none of these stitches are along the crotch of the pants, so therefore I did not have to worry about that embarrassment, um, at least this time, but it has happened to me in the past. Here we're going to do the other side. Here, once again, after I cut the pants open, I now have to run each of the 4 edges, that's 2 on each side of the pair of pants, through the serger to secure the edges of the fabric to keep it from fraying, to keep it from fraying apart. I've had that happen when I've forgotten to serge the seams on a piece of clothing. The washing part is hardest on the seam, so the overlock, what the server does, is very, very important. Now we have to sew the strips into the pants that were cut open, being very careful when you sew each strip. That strip is for the 2 sides of the cut in that particular leg. You have to be extremely careful not to stitch the legs together. It is too easy to do that. Furthermore, you need to be careful to make sure that the good side of the strip faces the good side of the pants. So when they're pulled apart and they're pulled flat, the good side will always be out. Now you see me getting ready to do the very first one, checking and double checking. The foot pedal controls the needle, and furthermore, when you start stitching, it would do the back and forth automatically, as you can see, to secure the seam. End. When you get to the end, you press the pedal backwards, and it would do the back and forth, and then cut the thread for you automatically. Now we're about to stitch the other side of that strip to the other side of the opening of the same leg that we started with. This process, of course, is done 4 times. That's 2 times for each strip. There's 2 strips and 2 stitches per strip. That makes it 4 stitches. Once we're done with that, there is some minor trimming. I'm not going to bother with that. We now have a resurrected pair of pants I have not worn for 20 years, and now I can wear them once again. Now you see me wearing these pants for the first time in 20 years, giving them a new life and letting them show their beauty to you all. And that's it. Of course, with all videos, I just want to say I truly love you all, and please let my light shine into your heart. Goodbye.